Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you happen to be watching this. If it's your first time hanging out with the channel, thank you for stopping by. My channel is pretty much not much more than well, for the live show anyway, it's not much more than a background noise generator. Two Wheel Tuesdays, we're primarily talking about motorcycle and motorcycle news, motorcycle stuff that I might be up to. And, well, basically, it's just here to fill the airspace while you're doing something probably a lot more important than whatever it is that I'm talking about. I know a lot of guys doing yard work or listening to this in their headphones, machinists, guys driving trucks. So to all of you guys, thanks for stopping by. Always good to have you. So for this chat, I'm leaving it somewhat open, but I will have to admit that, well, I'm having a difficult time putting together the post-ride review of the GSX S750. So we're going to be talking about that bike a little bit. We're going to be talking about that segment also. And where that segment seems to be, where we all kind of wish it would go. We're going to be talking about some newer sport bikes, and we're going to be talking about a potential bike that may be joining the fleet. So I'll be talking to you guys about that a little bit as well. So by the way, for the live show, I'll sometimes, like what I'm doing right now, I'm kind of starting to queue up some things to show you guys, but this is my opportunity to hang out with you guys and interact directly. So feel free to jump into the chat. I also use the live show if I can't get through a standalone video, which happens to happen a lot. If I can't get through a standalone video and it's taking me like 40 takes literally to get through it, I'll just do it as a live show. That may end up being what happens for my post-ride review of the GSX S750. Mainly because I don't know where to start that video. I don't know where to go with that video. I was so impressed by that bike. Mainly, and I was impressed by it probably more because I had no expectations. I had actually kind of low expectations of that bike because I had already ridden the Honda, well, I'd ridden the CB1000 Hornet, the CB750 Hornet, which both of them really good bikes. I've ridden my Katana, my old Katana. I had a Z900 RS Cafe with a bunch of work done to it. So I've got quite, and I've ridden the Street Triple 765. So I've got quite a bit of experience with that weight class of motorcycle. And of the bikes that I haven't ridden, which would be eerily enough an MT-09, but I've ridden the MT-07 and I've ridden the R7. So I've got some experience with that weight class of bike. But this thing, I'm telling you right now, I was so impressed by it that I was at a bit of a loss for words. And that might be one of the reasons why I was just having such a hard time trying to put that post-ride review together. I just literally didn't know where to start. In fact, in the post-ride review, which will eventually get done, I even mentioned, look, I'm going to have to treat this like we're hanging a shower curtain. I don't know where we're going to start, and we'll get done when we're finished. But we got to talk about the bike and how impressed I was by it and why I was so impressed by it and all of that. So, or it could end up being a machine that I just end up moving more towards the live show venue for it, just because I have so much to say and I'm just too all over the place with it. But speaking of hanging out with you guys, Limestein is in saying, good evening, Professor B. Good evening, Lime. So let me while you guys are coming into the chat, I am going to get one motorcycle queued up. And, well, we're just going to get one bike queued up real quick so I can kind of give you guys an idea for what may be joining the fleet. It's actually a bike that I've wanted for a very freaking long time. And the fact that I may be able to get my hands on this bike is kind of a thing for me. So we're going to see. But Ryan is checking. So I'm going to check in with these guys. By the way, again, if you're new to the channel, you'll hear me checking in with the guys and talking it up with them. And then I might switch back and forth to share a screen too. So at any rate, so checking in with Ryan saying, B, that GSXR 750 it's the S750, but I know which one you're talking about. Had a sick intake, Hal. I heard the thing sniffing. I tell you what, that GSXS, I'm just going to say the S750 because for whatever reason, my mouth ain't wrapping around that whole series of consonants. But the S750 is a lot like the GSXR 750 in how it runs. In fact, there's a spot with the S750 that it's got more mid-range punch. I think a lot of that has to do with how it's tuned. But that bike, and it's cammed and tuned for that power band, but that mid-range and mid-throttle reaction that you get by just that twist of the throttle, the S750 was just so good. And I really happy bike, but a bit more serious than the rest of the field. It held its own, or it held itself very well. And it always felt like the bike was kind of in a position to prove itself. It's kind of funny. It felt very much like a much more mature motorcycle than the way that the Parallel Twins get down the road. And I know that would ruffle feathers in a post-ride review. And I'm just going to tell you right now, if you've ever ridden bikes that are as good in that segment as the CB 750 Hornet, the new Honda Hornet that just finally made it to the States, as much fun as I had with that motorcycle and as fun as it was, and I was giggling and laughing the entire time, that bike just wanted to wheelie and it was just a hoot and a holler, right? That motorcycle doesn't take itself very seriously. The S750 takes itself much more seriously. The way that it feels like a much more robust motorcycle. It feels more planted. And once you get it up into its rev range, it is not in the same league when it comes to just how that bike feels getting down the road. Now, that's not to say that it's just going to up and run out of the life of a Hornet 750. I'm just saying that it will absolutely gun one down, though. And that's just because it has got more horsepower in general. But I'm just going to say this, guys, it was really that good. And again, I don't know where to start with that bike because I was so impressed with it in every aspect. And again, I didn't have really high hopes for that bike, if I'm being completely honest, because I had just ridden the Hornet 750. I was very impressed by that bike. And man, I mean, dude, that bike, the S750 is probably one of my very most favorite bikes that I've ridden. And it's the most eye-opening motorcycle that I've ridden this year. DM is in saying, good evening, B, chat, and friends. What is up, my man? Ryan saying, is it a Royal Enfield? It is not a Royal Enfield. Ryan saying, yeah, the S750, 38, 39, whatever it takes, dude. I'm telling you, it is an awesome bike, but I can't, for whatever reason, GSX-S, I don't know. It just does not roll off the face too good. Ryan's checking in with the crew. Sharps in, thank you very much, saying, what up, B? Thanks for the awesome content. Got the fist bump. I like it. Oh, yeah, for you guys, got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. Sam's saying, yo, Ryan. DM's checking in. Ryan's saying, I changed my name so Ryan shows up on my ticket instead of Skids. I tell you what's funny is it'll always be Skids. There's always Skids. Ryan saying, at McDonald's, got to have them Eggy Mix, dude. Eggy Mix hit hard, bro. Real talk, dude. Eggy Mac, I'm telling you, those things, you get everything. Man, you get that Mac muffin, so you get the toast, you get the gooey and the ooey. Oh, man, I get I back in the day, I'm getting my mouth watering just thinking about it. I can't eat like that anymore. It's a damn shame. I could. Anyway, I used to load up on, remember the Egg White Delights? Man, we would rock Egg White Delights at the office big time. Myself and the the folks that worked with me were always in the gym. And anyway, yeah, we kept a lot of Lysol in that room. But anyway, listen, let's dive into let's talk about the GSX S750, what made it such a good bike, and there's a bit of a bummer with that bike. The big bummer is that it looks like Suzuki is just not making it anymore. And I'll tell you what, the thing that sucks the most about that is that the GSX 8S and 8R, I guess, are taking its place. And the reality is that the 8S is far and away a better bike than those other two, period, full stop. Sorry, but not sorry. I understand why so many people like the 8S and the 8R. They're real torquey, real thumpery type bikes to ride, for lack of a better description. But I'm telling you, you ride the S750 and the howl of that 750, and you start putting that bike through its paces and leaning on that bike just a little bit, it is an absolute night and day difference between those machines. And that the S750 only costs $8,700. It's got one of the best 750 engines ever made, the K6 generation of the big bore 750s. Guys, I'm telling you, it is heartbreaking that they're not going to be making that bike anymore, if that's true, because I'm not kidding. You'd almost want to grab one and put it in a time capsule and just yank that thing out every once in a while, take it for a blast, and then immediately put it back where you found it, hermetically sealed. That's how much fun I had with that bike and how exciting it was to ride. And, I'd even said when I got back, the bike feels stronger in some areas than my Gixxer 750. And so I was just kind of left going, what gives? Maybe it's gearing, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't know. But I can tell you this, very impressed with that bike, and I had a lot of fun with it. So it's just so much. I'll say this about the S750. It is not the fun, goofy, nerdy bike that the MT-07 is, or that the Hornet 750 is. It's not that bike. It's not a lightweight. It is a more substantial, more grown-up version, and it's got more grown-up power. It's got more grown-up mass. It's got more grown-up presence about it. And that's, I guess, probably some of the stuff that I'll be saying in the post-ride review. Like I say, this is my opportunity to kind of work through some of that content with you guys. So, and a lot of times I'll be thinking about what I'm saying, and I'm like, damn, that sounds that sounds like ass. And now that I'm like, sometimes ideas that are great end up being not so great. Ever happened to you? Happens to me all the time. Story of my life. So anyway, that's, a lot of the times the thoughts that I'll have on a bike, especially on this one, because again, I'm just having a bit of a hard time getting through the video because I'm so scatterbrained because I was so impressed by this bike. Literally, I've got every browser is clicked on and wants to be heard when it comes to that particular motorcycle. Let me check back in with you guys. Ryan said, got to have the Eggy Mechs. Love them. Saying yours are over medium. Very nice. Sam, non-ethanol, high octane. Dude, yeah, it is the wet season. It's also yard season. There's a lot of that smell in the air right now. We've got some gas stations that sell non-ethanol, like right here in town. DM race gas does, some of it does smell like Fruit Loops and tequila. Oh hell. 109 smells good, but it's C16 is the one that smells like Fruity Pebbles. The methanol RC stuff does smell like, yeah, smells like candy. Another great brand. DM saying, so again, we say that Suzuki motor is so good, no matter what it's in, it's a show stealer. Anything that it's in, it's so good. I tell you what, it's so good that it really does. Look, Suzuki does weird stuff. It's kind of funny. Suzuki and Yamaha always punch above their weight class, always do. And it just kind of is what it is. And if it's not a straight out performance thing, it's an overall riding impressions thing. And this is where a lot of guys really get it wrong, where you start to look at a bike only based on the spec sheet, and you bust out the calculator and you do all your math on it. And you go, nah, well, the power to weight ratio is 0.19 horsepower per pound, and they have the same power to weight ratio. But dude, you can do all of that all day long that you like. I think I even mentioned this in the ride along video. Like, look, they have the same power to weight ratio, but the way the Suzuki makes power, it just keeps building power on and on and on, and it's making more. So overall power. And so you get the sense that this bike is just a lot more than the sum of its parts. Let's see. DM saying he makes his own breakfast sandwiches too. Nice. Oh, Ryan said you can only get his hands on 87 non-E. You might have a Buc-ee's up near you that sells 92 non-ethanol. Sharp's asking anything on the Kawasaki ZX6 recall. Well, it's unfortunate, but it is a real thing. And matter of fact, there's a bike at the dealership right now that's got to go in. It's a trade-in that will have to get its recall run through. It's a 24 ZX6. So my understanding of that recall is it works like this. From the middle of 2024 to basically today, the middle of 2025, the ZX6, the 636 power plant, I believe its main bearing number 1 is the main bearing that fails. And so I don't know if there's a test that you can do to determine whether or not that bearing is failing or will fail. And the way that it works is you have to take the bike in, they'll pull the engine and basically pull it apart, get to number 1 bearing and replace it. I don't know if it's undersized or if it's oversized or what the deal is, but that seems to be the fix. Now, motorcycles from before, oh, and by the way, this is only American market bikes for whatever reason, but American market motorcycles are the only ones that are affected. This is not global so far as I know. So when we got the word that this was a real thing, this was a real problem, because this is affecting what is in essence one of Kawasaki's top selling motorcycles. There's thousands of these bikes that are going to have to get dealt with. So that's a real shame. And it's a sweetheart of a bike, but that is a bike that I'm going to be bringing to you guys. It's a 24 ZX6. Sam's saying about 5 miles away from Braden Motorsports, there's a 7-Eleven that sells 112. Nice. God, it's been a long time since I've been to Braden. So I was bracket racing, Foxy, the last time I was there. In fact, there was a picture of me at Bradenton back in the day floating around over here somewhere. A very young version of me. Ryan saying, hate to hear about the Cowie. Love them. Love the brand. Always been a big fan. Yeah, it sucks, man. But they're going to get it sorted out and it'll be right. And I cannot wait to get my hands on that bike. It's a real pretty ZX6. I think it's like a pewter color almost. So anyway, so here's the thing. I've got a bit of, yes, Ryan, it is B with hair. I wonder, is that, it used to be right up here and now it's just a picture of me and smoking hot. Where the hell? And that is, I do not have hair in that picture. And yes, I am at Bradenton. Used to do all the fun Ford weekends out there. So speaking of back in the day, a long, long time ago, I had fallen in love with a motorcycle, and I never really, I never got one. I used to be a big Honda fan. And the main reason for that is I had an '04 RC51. And I have, I've always kind of wanted this particular motorcycle. And when I have, when I have access to bikes like this, I always want to at least get a chance to spend some time with it, which is what I'm going to try to do, maybe even tomorrow. But I'm going to show you this bike, and I want to get y'all's opinion on this because, well, let me just do this. There is a motorcycle. You ever seen the Show House? Remember the Show House, the doctor back in the day? Anyway, so this is a bike that is kind of shown up. Okay, this is an 05 CBR 1000 RR Repsol edition. Now, this bike is not pristine. This bike is a little, it's not rashed up or anything, but it has been gone through. And I got to tell you guys, this was a bike from back in the day for me that I was absolutely just unconsolably in love with. And it's a hell of a good looking bike. And the funny thing about it is that back then, the CBR 1000, keep in mind, this bike is now 20 whole ass years old. But back in the day, bikes like this making 170 horsepower, you know, somewhere around 150 horsepower to the rear tire, these things were monsters. Well, the thing is I used to cut these bikes' heads off at Thunder Hill. So it's kind of a funny thing. There is one that has shown up, had to have a lot of work done to it. Again, it's not in perfect shape, but neither am I. And I might be bringing this thing home if I can work a deal out on it. I'm going to have to put some stock parts on it. I'm going to have to do still quite a bit of work to it, but I want to bring it into the fold because I want it. It's going to be more along the lines of my vintage sport bike series. You know, we've done a lot with the T595. We've got the GSXR 750 and 1000. We don't have a Honda in the fleet. And the thing is that this is pretty much a vintage motorcycle now. It's 20 years old, and I think that it deserves a lot of love. And I might just pick it up, bring it in, strip it down, go through it, and bring you guys some content with a motorcycle that is so iconic from back in the day, and a bike that, well, to be honest with you, represents a bit of a split where Honda, you know, in 2007, 2008, they had the newer body style. They picked up some power, a little bit lighter bike and all of that. But, you know, these older war horses like this, these were the bikes that I would have been going up against way back in the day when I was doing track days and when you'd see me up in Northern California with us just going out raising hell. This would represent one of the leader class bikes that we ran with. And one of the things that was so interesting with the CBR 1000, this is going to sound kind of strange to say, but it was probably one of the best 750s that you could ever ride. And what do I mean by that? Well, it was never, ever as fast as the Gixxer 1000, ever. The Gixxer 1000 always felt like it was 10% larger than what it was. But it was always just a very good street bike. And I think that's the main thing with this. So we'll see. I haven't ridden it yet. I haven't put it through its paces. If it passes muster, I may go ahead and I may bring it in. We'll see. But that is the bike that I was talking about. So yeah, cool stuff. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I kind of like it. Oh, Ryan's saying, you know, I feel like we have eerily the same hairdo. I don't know where that picture went. If I can find it. It's actually a picture of me getting out of out of Foxy. Where the hell is it? It's got to be over here somewhere. Now, remind me. I'll see if I can find it later. Anyway, diving back in with you guys. Ron's in. Evening, everybody. What's up, Ron? X is in. What's up, man? The head do. That's about right, for sure. It definitely ain't hair. Not yet. I can grow a hell of a skullet, though. Give old Benjamin Franklin a run for his money. But getting back to the bikes, though, like I say, I may be bringing that CBR 1000 into the fold, mainly because it's a vintage motorcycle, and I kind of like that sort of thing. But we shall see. But there's really not another bike that I'm thinking of bringing in. I will say there are some cool bikes that are coming, though. And I got to say that although we don't really have anything solid yet, there's two bikes that I do want to talk about. So this is kind of the news part of this. So let me do this. Let me drag a couple of things out over here. Oh, hang on just a second. There's okay, let me just I can't really pull this stuff up. And anyway, it's more concept than anything else. So we've got some bikes that are coming up that potentially might be hitting the market here in 2026 and 2027. The first bike that I want to talk to you guys about is a retro version of Honda's CB1000 Hornet. There have been some photos leaked of this thing, and I was just trying to pull them up, and for whatever reason, I got the circle of death, and I don't want to hold the show up on this, but it is a really good looking retro version of the new Hornet. Now, as it goes with these kind of things, I don't know if the United States market's going to get it. It would be a freaking miscarriage of justice if we don't get this bike, because, oh my God, it is sick to death. Let me see if I can find this one. There's another bike that I was looking up too. Let's see, retro. So let me just show you what one of the cons. I think I've shown this before. But there is a concept for this bike that has been kicked around. This is really more of an rendering than it is an end result. But this is kind of what it looks like, except the one that I saw recently is this bike with a bit of a bikini fairing on it, just like the Z900 RS Cafe. Thing is, it's going to be 150 horsepower Fireblade CBR 1000 sourced engine in this thing. It's going to be a major hot rod, but it's not going to be the single-sided swing arm. It's going to be the most recent regular swing arm. Let me see if I can get a better version, a better picture of that. Hang on just a second, guys. Let's see if we've got something a little bit more recent. Bear with me just 1 second. I think this is a little bit more close to it. So this guy right here, that's what we're seeing. I uploaded. That's June 22nd of this year. So that's one of the bikes that's been kicked around a little bit. And if that sumbitch hits the streets, boys, look at yeah. I do love my Gixxer 1000, and I do love my Gixxer 750. I don't know. I really like the way the Hornet got down the road, and I don't know that I would let any of my bikes go to get that bike. But that bike is sick as hell. So, yeah, if we get something like that stateside, I don't know. I'm a sucker for those retro hot rod style motorcycles. I don't know. That's something to think about. So there's that. The other one, and there's not a good rendering of it, is so we can talk about the CB1000 in that it is an amazing bike to ride, but that bike has got to be de-restricted for it to be all that it can be. That motorcycle is very restricted in the first couple of gears. And I can tell you this, it needs a steering stabilizer. Okay. But again, with a revised seating position, a little bit different ergonomics, but the same frame, same everything else, it's got the makings of a hell of an awesome motorcycle. So there's that. The other one is, well, they haven't posted it yet, but it's Kawasaki. So Ryan said, or Z900 RS who? Hey, Ryan, you know the new Ninja 1100, that sport touring thing? Well, they're talking about making a Z900 RS type variant using that bike, that engine, and that architecture. And it's something that's been kicked around. There's a lot of rumors going on about that bike. We'll see if that really does come to pass. But I got to tell you, here's the thing. Let's say they made a GPZ 1100. If they use that engine and that architecture, that is going to be a bit of a problem for a lot of folks. It's going to be a direct line of sight competitor to the CB1000. They're both going to make about 140 to the rear tire once you tune them and pipe them. And they're both going to make somewhere around 80 pound-feet of torque. I mean, they're going to be monsters. That Kawasaki makes power everywhere. And if they can pull off, I'm showing you the Honda, but just look at this and it'd be the same thing for the Kawasaki. I don't know. It's going to be something that I would have a very hard time handing the keys back after that review. But again, we shall see. But if they do come out with this, something's going to have to happen. I'm going to have to start, I don't know, taking pictures of my feet or something and selling them, because I got to figure out a way to get one of these in the garage. DM saying, I miss Nicky Hayden. He was a very kind man, super cool dude, man. Nicky was a cool ass guy. Even the hot pits, he was always super cool. In person, he's one of the most cool guys you'll ever talk to. Funny dude, by the way. He's actually was a really funny guy. Ryan saying, definitely killing it. Yep. X is asking, how's the T595? It's doing really well. I just rode it the other day. I did a ride along video with it. And man, you know, the funny thing about that bike is it's a 955cc triple, and it's, by today's standard, it's a middleweight. The funny thing is that so I'm in a unique position with that bike, because I don't really ride it a whole lot, but I do still ride it. And it's a weird bike because I can ride that bike and then ride my 750 back to back. And I got to tell you, how do I put this? If Triumph, just hear me out for a minute. Look, Kawasaki, the Z900 is based on the old ZX9 engine platform, retro on top of retro. GSXR 750, GSX-S 750. Both of them use retro motors, okay? The S is using an engine from 2006, and the R is using an engine that's basically 15 years old. The CB1000 that we're looking at right here, This bike is using the Fireblade engine from 2017, coming up on 10 years old. The Z900 also uses the same ZX9 derived engine. The point that I'm making is this. If we're talking about manufacturers that use retro engine castings, Triumph has got to figure out a way, and maybe not because of weight or whatever, but they've got to figure out a way to put a strong running triple that is at least 800 cc's in displacement into the Street Triple 765 platform. They need to figure out some way to make that motorcycle make Moto 2 levels of power, which is around 130 horsepower, 140 horsepower. And when tuned, 130, 125, 130 to the rear tire. They have got to do that, bump up the displacement to where it's closer to the 955 Daytona era bikes. I understand not getting that far and deep into it because you can get into packaging and weight and stuff like that, but there's got to be a way for Triumph to do the same thing that everybody else is doing, because right now, here's the problem. Triumph is missing the target completely by not putting a full fairing on the Street Triple 765. That is the easy way to make a Daytona. What Triumph did with the 660, in my opinion, was the wrong way to go. I can tell you that locally, they do not sell at all. There may be a market somewhere on the globe of Earth that bike does well. And I wouldn't fault anybody for liking it. I've ridden it. But it is very much a beginner style bike. And to have the name and to wear the name and display the name of Daytona, that's not a beginner bike. I mean, my T595 represented what was, for about 60 days, the top of the food chain when it came to sport bikes. In a way, it had the most advanced computer system at the time. You know, it's making a claimed 130. That's wishful thinking. But look, it was at least 120 horsepower. It would put down 108 to 112 from the factory to the rear tire. I mean, it was plenty fast. Well, wait a minute. Those power figures sound exactly like the R9. And although the T595 weighs a little bit more, it's basically the same displacement, right around that 900 to 950 cc range. And it's got a red line that's the same, 10,500. So I guess where I'm going with this is really me going completely around my ass to get to my elbow. But when I ride my Daytona, and then if I ride my 750 back to back, I can see why folks would like that real grunty mid-range from a 900 cc triple. The problem is that as fun as it is to ride on the street, it's not ultimately all that exciting. And if you ever watch my ride along videos with that bike, look at the tack when I start hitting twisties with it. Look at how close the needle is to getting to red line all the time. It's always pulling, but it kind of, when it noses over right before it hits the rev limiter. And it'll carry right before it does, and then you feel it noticeably drop down. And that's not a soft limiter. That's just the bike running out of breath. So I've got to say, as great as that bike is, and as great as that power delivery can be, I've got to tell you guys, look, man, it's just not the same for me. Which is to say that the 765, as good as it is, it needs more, and it needs a full fairing. I'll even go so far as to say this, guys. If Triumph would have made the Street Triple with a true, say, 135 horsepower, which shouldn't be all that hard, if that would have been the case for that bike with a full fairing, I would have already bought one. And at the way that it is, they're not going to make it. And I got my GSXR 750 instead. So, you know, it is what it is. Oh, X is saying he's going to check out. He loves that bike. I love it too. X saying be over there with a pot of gold holding out on them feet pigs. No shit, bro. I know, right? Hey, whatever it takes, baby. Whatever it takes. We got to get that house paid off too, man. Let's see. What am I missing up here? Hang on a second. I missed a couple of things. Let's see. Bear with me. Sam, they finally has listed their adventure bike online. The CVO Pan America is interesting, just not at 30K. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, 30K is just too much. Look, let's talk about Harley Davidson for just a hot minute. Look, I'll be real with you guys. I don't know that I'm going to be doing too much more Harley Davidson content. Main reason for that, the viewership of any of my Harley Davidson content, it doesn't look like folks are all that interested in it. You know, and I'm not saying that, you know, my videos are great. Why aren't you watching them? Look, look, we all know what we're getting when we come to this channel, right? I mean, can we all agree to that? But as mildly entertaining and as admittedly probably mildly irritating as all of my videos are, the Harley content does not get any real love unless I'm just talking shit about Harley. And I'm just not going to do that. I like Harley Davidson. I like Harley Davidson motorcycles. But it just doesn't seem to get a lot of content on this channel, which is fine. But the bikes that I've ridden were really good. The Street Glide, dude, that's a bike that is probably in second place for motorcycles that I just did not come into expecting to like. Like I was just like, Street Glide. That bike really did change my mind about how cool a bike like that can actually be just to ride. So from looking at it from just a motorcycling experience, it was amazing. That bike didn't have a lot of traction, but the funny thing about it, the Pan America holds the honor of the post-ride review having more views than the ride-along view. And that neither one of those videos really gained a whole lot of altitude as far as a lot of folks being interested in it. And the weird thing is that I had a blast on the Pan America. That's, if you guys haven't seen it, you know, a lot of times you can tell when I'm having fun with a bike. A lot of times I just can't shut up. That's obviously, you know, part of it. But I legitimately had a good time on the Pan America. And you can, I think that comes across in that video. It's just that of the bikes that I've ridden and of the bikes that I've done the riding reviews, the Harley Davidson content just doesn't do all that great. And the Triumph content, the T120 will get a little bit of love, but the rest of them just kind of don't. But yeah, check out that ride along. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. Let me get back to the regular screen here. There we go. Ryan saying the last gen CBR 1000R had some retro styling cues, but it didn't do much for me. But I will admit I hadn't ridden one. Just the looks didn't grab me. So the funny thing about the Honda for me back in the day is that the Honda just fit my ergonomics exceptionally well. The Suzuki and the Honda were both just chef's kiss when it came to just the way that bike felt like it was tailored really well for me. And it's, I mean, I'll show you again, guys. This thing is absolutely no exception. And this is, I'm a little bit torn on what to do if you end up getting, if I do end up bringing this bike into the fold. I'm really not exactly sure what I would do with it, other than just maybe ride it here and there, take it to go grab coffee or something like that. You know, when I want to ride a sport bike, but I don't, like, I love the T595, but I do need to pull it apart and start doing some work to it. This bike would be really good for me, again, just to show, you know, a retro sport bike in the flesh, a rider. It's not a showpiece. There are some scratches. There are some nicks, that all of that. That's one of the reasons why I kind of want the bike, is because it's not perfect. It's not a museum piece. This is a rider with 20,000+ miles on it. And I mean, you know, as long as I can still get replacement parts for like stators and things like that, I'm going to be in a real happy place with it. So we'll see. But I do need, if I buy it, I will have to put a little bit of work into it. So, and that's part of the cool part of this, is that I can bring you guys along for the ride. Plus, again, these are retro bikes now. We've got to preserve them. We got to get them on the road. We got to have some fun with them for sure. So, oh, and it sounds freaking phenomenal. That's another thing about this bike, is it absolutely rips. I think it's got a, it's a Yoshi, I think is what it is, undertail on it. Of course, none of these bikes ever had cats. So definitely a fun bike. Oh, Sam saying the Indian FTR is interesting. I kind of like the look of the Indian Springfield. Pretty nice. FTR is a neat bike. I'm surprised it didn't do better than it did, but it is a very freaking powerful bike. Ryan saying the Boxster S just isn't it. Man, I tell you what. Well, let me finish up your take. The gent who did a Cafe Racer build with the Sporty did do a solid job, I will say. Or harken back to the XR 1200. Ryan, my bro, this is something that I had said. I was talking to a friend of mine, and if you guys don't know what an XR 1200 is, I'm here to tell you, this is one of the coolest ass bikes that Harley Davidson made. And it was a, basically what it was it's a bit of a hot rod, and guys have, you know, they've done fairings on these bikes. They've done all kinds of custom stuff to it. Let me just share the screen real quick with you guys so you can see why Harley Davidson couldn't harken back to this part of their heritage and build something with the new power plant. I don't get it. I almost wanted to call it high rev. It's Rev Max. Why they couldn't do that, I just don't. Oh, y'all aren't seeing this. Why they couldn't do that, I just don't understand. It's a neat looking bike. Again, here's another one. How about this? All right, if we're not going to do the XR, why not? Hold on, let me see if I can find the actual bike that I'm looking for. Well, this is what I would have probably lost my shit over. I don't know how long ago this is, but this is something that they absolutely could have done. And this, Ryan, this might be one of the ones you're talking about. Like this, you know, something that is, you know, a true cafe. Use the Rev Max engine, use some design cues from a sport bike, but you've got to show off that engine. That is a showpiece. Do something like that. You know, we talk about not getting the Bronx or the Street Fighter, but this is a crime against humanity. This goes against the Geneva Convention that Harley Davidson didn't bring us a bike like this. I mean, you could sell that bike for $18,000 or $20,000 all day, every day. It's got the barn shield on it. It's got 150 horsepower, making all the torques in the world. It is a absolute showstopper when it comes to just being a hell of a looking bike. Bear with me here just a second, guys. This goes back, this is a 5-year-old thing, but this goes back a while. And I understand these are, more concept than anything else, but let me just get you a better blown up version of this. Let me blow this picture up for you. All right, let me try to go back to that real quick. Bear with me. Come on now. Oh, there's that bike with a little bit better looking image. Yeah, this is the problem with Harley Davidson for me. And I don't want to go off on a tangent on Harley, but this is the issue that I have with Harley Davidson. Do you realize that I would own this? Like, I would rock the absolute tits off of this bike. But Harley Davidson won't make them. And we didn't get the Bronx. We didn't get the Street Fighter. When you're talking about a Thruxton-esque cafe racer, Continental GT, old school retro, like the CBR 1000, that retro version of that bike. I mean, this writes itself, doesn't it? So anyway, something like this I would have certainly bought, and we're never going to see it. But the problem is that Harley Davidson for me is, I'm not cruiser guy. In fact, it's kind of funny. I'm not cruiser guy because I don't like cruiser motorcycles. I'm not cruiser guy because I'm not comfortable on it. In fact, the only cruiser that I was ever really somewhat comfortable on was my T-Bird, and that was barely superseded by the Street Glide. And so for me, it comes down to my brain and the wiring in my head wants to be more committed in a riding position. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? So anyway, I would love to have something with the bar and shield on it. And, but it would have to be something it'd have to be something that works within the weird, spaghetti that's rolling around in my head. Let's see. But yeah, Ryan, you're exactly right. XR 1200. Harley Davidson made a cafe. It was something Harley Davidson 1200. Was it the Harley Davidson 1200 CR, Ryan? Oh, let me see if I can find it real quick. It's the one that Michael Douglas had in that movie. 1200 CR. Let me see if this is it. This might be it. Yeah, here we go. I mean, look, I know that this isn't exactly the thing, but guys, look, Harley Davidson had the CR12. And it was, if I can click back, there you go. And it was this bike basically. And, it was their version of a cafe racer, but this is going back into the 80s. That's why when I brought up that more modern cafe racer with the, I keep want to call it high rev max engine. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're talking about bringing along for the ride, the old school XLCR, I guess is what it's called. And you could harken back to your own hot rod era. And the cool thing about this, you want to talk about being counter. Let me tell you how cool the XLCR is. Okay, so at a time, at the real quick history lesson, when the XLCR came out, chopper culture was kind of and club bikes were kind of making a big push, right? but there was an equally large push on the cafe racer side, on the custom cafe racer side. Just like you had a custom motorcycle scene in the United States, which was more built around long distance travel, the chopper scene, but bikes like that, right? Well, you had an equally large contingent overseas that was building CB 750s into cafe racers. And at that point in time, this motorcycle from Harley Davidson to release that bike in the United States was kind of like the man going against the man. Like, this was Harley Davidson embracing motorcycle culture from overseas. And that's why I liked it so much. I thought it was the coolest bike I had ever seen, but you never would see them and you never heard of them. But I always thought that it was cool. There was a point in time where Harley Davidson was real open-minded, and they were seeing that, you can be a part of the scene as they had always been overseas as part of that cafe racer crowd. And they literally made their own custom bike in-house to be a part of that motorcycling community. And for whatever reason, and it's the stupidest reason under the sun, it was never accepted or adopted or embraced or whatever. And one of my all-time favorite Harley Davidsons, which would be this bike, and the bike that I was just showing you, that concept bike, that concept RevMax style cafe bike. I mean, could you imagine? You're seeing, this is why I get, kind of worked up, is that Harley Davidson did some really cool stuff that was outside of the American only influence. That's why I like that bike so much. But let me get back to you guys. Oh, just screwed that all up. The Hash is in saying, hey, bro, first time I catch you on live. Hey, man, thanks for stopping by, man. Welcome to my little slice of the YouTube. X is checking in with Slash. Good to see you, brother. Ryan saying Harley Davidson content overly saturated on the tube for sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I would love to do more Harley Davidson content. I just, it's like it just doesn't do well. DM saying, well, yes, we can agree. This channel is the best and most underrated on YouTube. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I would tend to agree. Well, thank you, sir. I like hanging out with y'all, man. It's a lot of fun. Ryan saying, how could you not love the Street Glide? I know I'm blessed. I'm biased, blessed and biased. Dude, listen, Street Glide, listen, this is what tricked my brain on the Street Glide. I didn't see the Street. This is, okay. I don't see the Street Glide as a cruiser. How the hell do you not see the Street Glide as a cruiser? Let me explain why. When I rode the Street Glide, had the 117 engine in it. That 117 makes right now kind of torque, which lightens up the bike, makes it feel lighter. That bike, though, had the floorboards on it. It didn't have like the heel shift or anything like that. It just had floorboards on it. And what the boards did for me is, and the bike, for what it felt like, it sat just, I mean, it could have been a thumb's width higher, but whatever it was about the Street Glide, it handled a lot better than it had any real right to. But this is the takeaway for me. The floorboards allowed me to have my feet back, and it felt like I was able to be on the balls of my feet a little bit, if that makes any sense. And so for whatever reason, the scrambled eggs in my head didn't see it as a cruiser. It saw it as a big sport naked bike. And so I was riding that bike as though it is just nothing more than a big sport naked. And if you think of the Street Glide in that configuration like that, now all of a sudden it's a different machine. And that's one of the reasons why I liked it so much. It had the torque to make it light. It had the ergonomics to make it feel sporty. It had everything going for it. And that's why I've said it, and I'll keep saying it. Of the bikes that I've ridden that changed my opinion of a manufacturer, it's the Street Glide for me. You would think it'd be the Pan America, right? But it wasn't. It was the Street Glide for me with Harley Davidson. I absolutely loved riding that bike. Bullet is in. Yeah. Sam's asking if I checked out the new Boulevard lineup. Not really. Not really. Ryan saying he loves the old school Repsols. The old Marc Marquez. The Boulevard is a pretty bike. Oh, man, I don't know what I just did. I just blasted through everybody. Okay, here we go. Ryan saying, yes, do a killer retro with the RM1250. That last one on the screen looked badass. Yeah. Dean saying, if Harley Davidson made that, I'd rush out and get it. Yeah, talking about what. So here's the thing, and I'll bring it back up just to show you guys a little bit better shot of it. Let me get back to me. Come on, me. There I am. Come on, pop back up. Here we go. Let's do this bike. See, this is the thing when it comes to, come on. This is the thing when it comes to Harley Davidson. I mean, this is the bike, if you price it right, this is the bike that brings people back into the dealership. This is the bike that introduces the youth, right? Like you don't have to just only 1200 Rev Max. You could do the 970 in this category too, in this exact same thing. Do what Suzuki does, you know, make a frame that basically what feels like the old school GSXR 600 and 750. Make both engines fit into the same thing, shim them up or do whatever, but do that. More of this, please. Because without this, you're losing a lot of the youth market with this. Anyway, getting back into it. Ryan saying, God forbid they do something that even the younger generation get excited about. Yeah. Young at heart. I'll tell you what. Ryan saying, yes, the XLCR, a rare bike as well. And they're saying, the AMF years. Do it, Harley. I double dog dare you. But yeah, that's the thing. For me, it's a shame because again, this, I have to admit, you know, it's kind of weird for me to say it like that, but I remember it like, I mean, I was just a little kid when I remember seeing this bike on TV. It was a TV movie thing. But this was such a cool bike for me because yeah, it's a rare bike. It just was never embraced by the Harley community. And for me, this is the type of bike that I gravitate towards. So I don't know. I just always thought it was cool that Harley did this, recognizing the significance of the Cathay crew overseas, knowing that they had a big part in that. You have to remember, look, this is the twisted thing about it. Harley Davidson and Triumph were always competitors. You had a V-twin in Harley and a P-twin, which is the inline twin for Triumph, among others. But Triumph and Harley Davidson were always the bikes that guys would gravitate towards for cafe racing. And, you know, you look at movies like The Wild Bunch, you know, you had Marlon Brando had a Triumph and the rival gang all had Harley Davidsons, right? That was ingrained on the streets and it was ingrained in the theater. And so when Harley embraced their street racing heritage with a bike like this, it's so cool because you just think that that's what they would do. And that's what Harley's going to do. Harley Davidson is just going to make cool ass cafe bikes that are badass and they're just going to update them and upgrade them, and that they didn't. And so anyway, that to me is the thing that was one of the just, oh my gosh, it's just such a missed opportunity to keep the brand fresh, young blood, and youthful enthusiasm for the brand of Harley Davidson. And it's just not there. They, for whatever freaking reason, year after year, year over year, unless it's the XR or the XLCR, the Cafe Racer, Harley Davidson since then has yet to be able to capture the youth and also bring some smaller bikes like Royal Enfield sized bikes to the market too. Come on, Harley Davidson, you can do this. Sam saying it might be some good content. You cannot find an XLCR, I don't think, anywhere. I mean, that would be a passion project too. It's a freaking awesome looking bike. Ryan said, oh, great takes on the Street Glide, Brian. You can really adjust your position easily on that bike for it being a bagger. You can get down and dirty. I'm so loving it. Dude, I'm telling you, it is not a cruiser. My brain checked out of that bike being a cruiser because it's not. In my head, that bike went from being a cruiser to a big sport naked bike. In fact, if you listen to that video, I think I even say it somewhere in there. It's like, this bike feels like it's a big sport naked to me. And it was at that point, it made perfectly good sense. That's it. This would be the Harley for me. But none of the other ones would be like that ever for me. And it is what it is. Everybody's built a little bit different. We're all wired different. And yeah, that Street Glide really is that good. Sovereign's in. What's up, man? Saying stream looks good. Yes. By the way, thank God for little blessings. We're into the live show now for over an hour. And yeah, we've made it through without a bunch of problems. So that's good. Someone's asking, does the inline sound the same as a V? Sorta. It sounds the same as a 90-degree V, but not like a tighter, like a 60 or a 45 degree V. It's not going to sound like that. Ryan says he's not a fan of the parallel twin 180. Yeah, most folks aren't. That engine, it fires instead of the pistons riding together and it goes bang, 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 bang. This way they go bang, bang, swish, swish, bang, bang. There's not a, it's great for RPM, but they're very agricultural in how they sound. But yeah, the 270 does a great job mimicking a 90-degree V twin. Sam saying he found one on Bring a Trailer for $8,500. Dude, that's a lot. Dude, $8,500 for that bike is a ton. But again, it's a hell of a bike. It'd be a hell of a neat bike. Oh, shoot. I missed. Hold on. Let me see something real quick here. Bear with me. This is the one. Hang on. This is the ad for that bike. Ah, hell yeah. Now this is what's up. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a way better picture of this bike. Let's see if I can. So that's the Caviar on wheels. But hang on. Let me see if I can find where I just was. Where did I put it? There we go. There we go. So that's what I'm talking about right there. You know, I just don't see. I mean, see what I mean? Like it's the history is already there. You just got to convince Harley guy that it's a real Harley, I guess. I don't know. Check out that big old X pipe. Getting it done. And they've got it. Okay, so it's got the X pipe and it's got the pipe running down the other side of it too. It's a good looking bike, man. Very cool bike, but I digress. Sovereign, a trike only requires a Class C, I believe. Mike saying, just got done riding in SoCal. What a joy. You got all of us in Texas going, it's been raining. And it gets hot as hell. And then it gets real humid out here. So yeah, it's been brutal. Ryan said, I rode this morning for a couple hours here in Texas. It was 83, 84 when I got home at 9 a.m. Yeah. I'll tell you what. So I rode today for the GSXS review. I kid you not. I sweat through my shirt on that ride. But here's the funny thing. You know, I'm not kidding when I tell you, I mean, I was sweating like crazy today. That review, that GSX S750 was so much fun to ride, and such a good bike all the way around too. That you know, I'm not going to say I was left speechless. It's nothing like that. It was just such an amazing bike. And I was talking to a buddy of mine afterwards, and I even said, look, I could easily outpace some much bigger bikes on some canyon roads with that S750. I mean, and I would not even be breaking a sweat to do it. That's how good that bike felt to ride. Again, it felt like a more, how do you say, it felt like a more mature motorcycle than the Parallel Twins feel like to ride. And boy, when that girl starts putting in work, though, it's good stuff for sure. Ryan saying, dude, it looked like the tips were high in that video today. Bro, I am not kidding when I tell you. It was hot. Oh, talking about the pipes. Yeah, the CR, it's got the X pipe and it wraps around the other side of the bike. It's wrapping around the front and going to the back. It's good looking. It doesn't come up on the side. No, it's not single sided. It's dual. I wonder if this bike, hold on, see if I've got a shot of this thing from the back. It's all only from the right side. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the, let me see if I can do this. Oh, there we go. I think that's got it. There we go. There's the kickstand side. So yeah, definitely a good looking bike, man. I am not going to lie. And again, it's all there. You know, does that thing have clip-ons? Hang on a second. There we go. Anyway, there's the left side of it. And it is, I mean, it's just a good looking bike. Harley Davidson, all you got to do is it. It's so easy to do that it. Oh, it went to black screen. Yeah, sometimes when I'm clicking back and forth, I've got to make sure that I see me right down over here. As long as I pop up, it's good. If it doesn't pop up, then you guys are getting a black screen. Looks like a drag bar. It does look like a drag bar. It's a good looking bike. Oh, Mike saying, I was riding the Gixxer 1000 in B mode. To me, it feels like a 600 in that mode, maybe 700. Not sure. It was a perfect power. The cool thing about the GSXR 1000 is you can put it in B mode. The 750 is kind of funny. If you put the 750 in B mode, it is GSXR 600 power, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, it's B mode on the 1000 is a very kind of laid back, very chill power mode. Sam saying the XR 1200 is expensive. I can imagine. But yeah, getting back, guys, getting back to that, getting back to the GSX S750, I'm going to try to just trudge my way through a post ride review. It's going to be tough. I've already got so many takes on that video that I just could not publish because I literally couldn't get through that video. I would start off on one tangent and then my brain would just take me to the other side. I mean, I was like, I could not really focus on it. So I need to put something together. It's a bit more focused. Let me go ahead and get out of that share screen. I need to put something together. It's a bit more focused and a bit more concise before I do the post ride on that bike. But and the other thing too is that it's so difficult to talk about the S750 without talking about every other middleweight that's in the class. It's in a completely different league altogether, and it's a much more refined bike. So I may just have to just absolutely ground and pound my way through that one and just make it work, because I've got so many great things to say about it. It's going to look like I'm trying to give that bike a tongue bath. Mike saying, I wish I had a 750. Man, let me tell you something. I absolutely love the 750 platform. It is so freaking good. The funny thing is the 1000 compared to the 750, and you can make an argument for the 600 too, but we're talking about the 750 specifically. The 1000 feels like a tank compared to the 750. There is something about the 750. It's not as fast. It's not as robust. It's not as this, and it's not as that. And it just, I understand that. And there's a reason why I have my 1000. I really do super heavy duty love that motorcycle. When I ride it, that bike and I are like super in tune. I absolutely, the only reasons why I don't ride that bike harder than I do typically is because I just don't have the trust for the tarmac that I'm on. There are times when I'm on that bike though, that I feel like I'm that bike's bitch. Like that bike is just going, dude, you could push me so much harder than this. And I just don't, because I'm on a public road. The 750, on the other hand, when I ride that bike, it's like, where are we going? What are we going to do? Let's go look at some tits. Like that's what the 750 does for me. It's like, let's go have some fun. Dude, this is going to be great. You know, oh, we're going to chill. All right, we can chill. That's cool too. I like chilling. Whereas the 1000 is like, I'm here for your women. Like that's what the 1000 is like. I mean, it can be super laid back. Don't get me wrong. It's just that when you turn the wick up on 1000, that just a little bit more on 1000 represents everything that another bike has got to give. And I think that's what I was trying to, you know, whenever I've done these videos with the GSX-R 750, I'm saying, look, you could have both of them in your garage, because it's such a difference in power output. It used to not be like that. Look, you know, that bike that I rode today, the GSX S750, that's got the old K6 GSX-R 750 engine in it. And for you guys that aren't in the know, let's go K5, K6, which just means 2005, 2006. The engine that the GSX-R 1000 was derived from was the old GSX-R 750 engine. And that engine just had a bigger bore. Okay, so what do? Well, you take the GSX-R 750, put a slight overbore on the cylinder, go from 72 to 74 millimeters, and give it a slightly longer stroke. That's it. Now you've got a 1000cc bike. And so the power difference wasn't, I mean, it was definitely a power difference, but it wasn't like a power difference the way that there is now. And it's not because the 750 got soft. It's because of how strong these leader bikes are now. walking around just a simple de-restricted Gixxer Thal puts down 180 horsepower to the rear tire. In fact, a de-restricted Gixxer Thal is almost indistinguishable from a full exhaust Gixxer Thal when it comes to peak horsepower. Now, everything else that leads up to that, full exhaust has the advantage. But when it comes to peak horsepower, it is night and day. So compared to what it used to be, especially. So when you look at it from that perspective, when you ride the 750, it's more nimble, it's lighter, it's more compact, it's lower, it sits lower in general. So it carries its weight lower and it's more compact. So it feels like the center of gravity is more dense, so to speak. And that's what makes that bike so much fun. I mean, whenever you see me ride that bike and I dump that thing into that right-hander with the slight left that goes into our favorite stop sign, I will, and I don't know if I've done this on that bike or not. I've actually done that where I dip the bike into the right-hander. I've done that with my left hand behind my back. And I'll just do the one-hand drills. If you guys aren't familiar with this one-hand crap that I'm talking about, when you start leveling up and doing your riding, one of the practice things that you do is you do everything with one hand. And the idea is that this hand is here for the clutch and for maybe stability, but everything else that's really important is happening on one hand. And so I don't think I've done it on camera just because I'm not thinking about it, but or if you ever see me doing something one-handed, it's because I've gotten used to doing things riding a motorcycle, just doing the one hand, and you'll see me come off the bike and I'm looking over and the bike might not even be in the frame anymore. Oh, that's one of the funny things. Squirrel. Anyway, the bike might not be in the frame anymore just because I'm off the bike and I'm looking over. So so behind the scenes. Okay. So for you guys that have made it this far into the show, trooper status for you. I was doing with the GSX S 750 today. I was in the back doing the MSF course portion of the video. And you may notice it, you may not. There's a couple of times and it's real faint too, but where the dotted lines come up over, and then there's a left-hander or right-hander, depending on how you dive into it. And there's one part where I'm diving into this thing, and the bike, I don't think is even any more in the video. The reason for that is I'm actually starting to duck in. And if I'd have been wearing my pucks, I would have been just before, I'd have probably been like this, just tipping into doing knee down drills, which is where you get into a very clean parking lot and you just start doing concentric circles, bringing the bike in, maintenance throttle, drop it tighter, 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 tighter. Then you start rolling off the throttle and you get used to lean angle. And then you do that and you start doing that one-handed. Anyway, so there's a part with that bike where I'm playing with it and I'm going, oh, this is fun. And I got to remember, it's not my bike. I'm at the dealership. These guys are very accommodating and they tolerate me quite a bit. But I will say, and the other fun thing, like fun in the back lot, right? Because and that's something that I like to do now. I like to show the low speed characteristics of the bike, some highway stuff, some acceleration. I try to show you guys a little bit of everything about the bikes that I'm doing the reviews on. But yes, the Hornet is wheelie happy. No, it doesn't come up on video too well because of the camera setup, which is this now. I'm rocking the lower position on the camera, so you guys get a little bit better view now. But yes, that's that bike coming up in the back lot. And I'm like, I got to be cool back here. I can't be doing wheelies in the MSF course. I mean, I'm doing it, but I'm not supposed to do that. I'm also not supposed to be doing knee dragging drills in the back lot either, but hey, turn me loose with one. What do you want me to do? Anyway. Let's see. Sam saying in 09, the Harley Davidson released the XR. Saying, I wish I had a 750. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm back on track here. Oh, Ryan, sorry. Yeah, not an old bike. Could possibly be a retro for the younger guys. Yeah, 09's looking pretty far back in our rearview mirror now. Mike G, Sam, Exactly. Probably talking about me and the 750. I'm here for your women. That is the 1,000. Like you saying, I wouldn't want to use full power on 1,000 unless I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cars. A 600 to 750 is a way better experience for everyday riding. I tell you what, here's the thing. Here's what I like about the 1,000. Once you get used to it, once you get used to a leader class bike, everything else becomes more fun to ride. And I came into my Gixxer Thal from being a guy that was always on track or up in the mountains with a 750, or on a rare occasion that I rode the 06, was it? CBR. It was not an 07, so it was the same body style as the 05. So call it an 05 for purposes of conversation. I would ride that bike every once in a while. It's one of the customer bikes that was up at NorCal. He's like, yeah, take it for a spin. Guy's name was Dave, or no, Mike. His guy's name was Mike. I would ride that every once in a while. I would ride that bike, but I was primarily on my 750, and that bike was a riot. But now that I'm doing a lot more with the leader bikes, I mean, bro, it makes everything, your field of vision, after your field of vision grows with the leader class bike, it just becomes so much fun. And the newer leader bikes are, I mean, other than being a little bit longer and just a tiny bit heavier than the 750, there's nothing that really separates them in terms of handling. What I like about the leader bike is that when I grab throttle coming out of a corner and I'm getting that bike straightened back up, that thing will absolutely just grind coming out of just the pull coming out of a corner, out of a sweeper is nice. 10 or 12,000 RPM, when I'm really starting to sing that thing on the side of the tire and I get a little bit of a push, I mean, that thing is an absolute ripper. You don't get that with the middleweights, but you shouldn't be doing what I'm doing on the street anyway. And I get that. But the reality is that they're a lot of fun no matter what. And look, the 750s, for me, that's the sweet spot. Because having too much power can be a bit of a distraction. And here's the problem with a leader bike. As much as I'll talk good about them, they're not all, it's not a Mary Sue situation. The leader bike, the problem with the leader bike is that the power that the leader bike makes becomes the defining characteristic of that bike. So my Gixxer Thal is has great torque. It's very smooth. It's very easy to ride. It handles exceptionally well. All of that is overshadowed by horsepower. So there's not a fair balance of trade here between what makes that bike a really good motorcycle, just a conveyance on two wheels, and the overwhelming characteristic of it that is absolutely the top of the food chain, predator level power. The 750 balances all of that. It's got really good power. And in a vacuum, if you've never ridden a leader bike, the 750 is a freaking monster. But it also has the handling and the flickability and the likability and the fun personality that it brings to the table. And again, I'll put it to you like this. A leader class bike has the same problem that a bodybuilder has with trying to be a comedian. Like, you can't look at somebody on stage like a really pretty girl. Oh, it's so hard to be a woman, it's why gym comedy doesn't really work in most scenarios. Like, you can't do a type 5 on that kind of shit. It's the same thing. And unfortunately, the material could be hysterical, but it's the delivery vehicle that's got your attention. See what I mean? But yeah, full power on a leader bike is exhilarating for sure. Mike G said, I need to do that. I can't lead for shit. It's okay, brother. It's okay. Listen, just saying he's scared to drop it. Just here's the thing. Ride to your comfort level. Test it just a little bit. Test it by 1%. And every time you ride, test it by a little bit more, just a 1% more, 1% more. Next thing you know, you'll be doing stuff that you thought was scary before, and it's normal. So, DM saying muscle memory, but you get a pass. I know, right? And you'll hear me. Okay, so you'll hear me every once in a while. You'll hear me go, "Be still, intrusive thoughts." That's like, let's go do some shit. It's like, yeah, boy. So yeah, it's Mike. Dave's not here. Cheech and Chong. Yeah. Oh, Mike's saying, once I get the new exhaust, I'll need to upgrade the velocity stacks and tune because also feel the jumpiness with the throttle, which doesn't feel smooth. Do the tune first. Hold up on the velocity stacks. Only reason why I say that, I ended up going back to the factory velocity stacks on the Gixxer Thal. And the reason why I did that is I was having an issue with these things kind of getting funky. I lost a race. This all started with me losing a race, which kept me very cross. And losing a race to a guy that I can't lose a race to one of my buddies. Okay. Like after you spent the money, you're using one bike to judge the fitness of a modification versus another, which is a control. And when you have a stock bike come around you at top of fifth gear speeds, when you've got velocity stacks, that's a real problem. I went back to a tune that is, and I went back with the stock air filter. The bike's never run stronger than it does now. Now, that being said, it's got much more mid-range power than it used to. And I will say this though, with the velocity stacks, the fueling at very low RPM did feel better, and it felt smoother all the way around. But for you, that could be what is going to be what helps you the most, because it'll take a lot of the bite out of that bike, and you really don't miss it, to be honest. In fact, the bike at first felt like it had picked up a little bit of torque. It was just easier. It would just kind of come up really pretty with wheelies, but a lot of that had to do with it. It made a little bit less power. And so I could use more of the throttle just on a power wheelie, and it would come right up, and I would just kind of, and I would chase the wheelie down and just let it sit down and do all that. Cause I am shit when it comes to doing wheelies, but I like doing them. They're fun. My wheelies come a bit more organically, I would say. But yeah, Ryan saying, just keep practicing, man. You will absolutely get there. It will absolutely get there. It's no big deal. Sovereign, yes, they do have superchargers for motorcycles. There's an outfit that supercharges a lot of the Bonneville platforms from Triumph. And yeah, they're pretty rowdy for sure, but primarily guys will put turbos on bikes usually. The Harley guys used to have kind of a pretty strong love relationship with positive displacement superchargers. Kid Rock's Harley Davidson in it was either Torque, I think it was Torque, had a positive displacement supercharger on it. And they're, turboing. Yeah, there's guys put turbos on everything. And the M8 motors are pretty sick. Everything is better with boost. But, and of course, the turbo boosts, which, we all know about that. But guys, listen, we are now over an hour and a half into the show. I got to get to work. But with that, guys, listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out with me tonight. Look, the live show went long because we had a great feed. So thank you, feed. gods, however that worked out. Thank you all very much. Listen, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And guys, if it's your first time hanging out with us, thanks for stopping by. I hope you had fun, and I hope to see you on the next one. Have a great week. And now that's a wrap. Y'all take care.